Hello, my name is James Hadley and welcome to another episode of FM Tips. Today I'm going to show you a quick trick on how to find the best young players. So as you can see, this is my Ipswich Town team. We are in the 4th season, I believe, and yeah, we've built a pretty good squad. Now a lot of this squad is made up of young talent, so we have players like this fellow Jonathan Silva. As you see, if you look at his attributes, he's going to be a very good player. We have players like Jose, who's pretty damn talented. Who else did I find? Let's look at Alex Grimaldo. Bought him from Barcelona. Paid a lot of money, but judging on his potential, it should be worth it. He's already one of the better left backs in the division. We also have Marco van Ginkel, who I bought from Chelsea, but not any huge surprise there. I think he's a well-known player already. Pablo Alcacer, who I bought from Valencia, I believe. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, for 8.5 million, so he scored 15 goals in the Premier League last season. Good young player, will only get better at this point. So what I'm going to do today is give you an idea of how to find more players like this using a tool called Genie Scout. This is the latest version of Genie Scout. To download it, you just go to fmscout.com and it will be right there on the front page. All you have to do is click this little button up here and click Load Game, and with Football Manager running in the background, that will load the entire database in. Now, some people will consider this cheating. I personally don't, because I just think it gives you a better look at the players in the game. You're not changing anybody's stats, you're not affecting them, but what you are doing is getting a better understanding of what players are currently, or which players I should say, are currently available in the game. So once this loads, you'll be able to see that, for instance, if you use the player search in the game, which gives you a particularly poor look at the players, it's very hard to, for instance, at the end of the season, have a look at which players are on a free transfer. But what you can do here is you load the database. You can see down the bottom that the game is loaded successfully. If you click this contract box and click free transfer, it will load every player currently in the game who is unattached, and you can search by how good they are. So every player is actually rated out of 200 in Football Manager. Lionel Messi would be around 195. Is as good to as close to a perfect player as you can get in Football Manager. But you can see all these players that are currently unattached. And for instance, if I click Kevin Trapp, this will show me all his attributes. You can see he's a very good goalkeeper. If we find a player who hasn't quite reached their potential yet, for instance Thomas Carroll, you can click on him. He's currently 138, which is, I would suggest, a lower level Premier League player, an excellent Championship player, possibly a bit too good for the Championship. But you can also click to show their potential attributes, and this will show how good they can potentially get in the game given the right quality of training, and also the probability of whether or not they're going to develop into a good player. 50% is very high. A lot of players will have 30%. It's just a very useful way to find new players. So for instance, if I click the filter, I can filter every single player in the game. I can look for every player under the age of 21 who has a potential ability of 160 or more. And I can search them by potential, and I can see that, for instance, there's this player called Serien Ndai who plays for Bordeaux. Click him, and I can see that he's going to become the best defensive midfielder in the world, potentially. And obviously it's a very helpful tool to have. No, like I say, some people consider this cheating. I consider using the potential, it could be considered cheating. But just looking for good players is not a particularly difficult thing to do. As you can see, some of my players are in it. So this is a player I've purchased. He's on loan at Fiorentina currently, and he's going to be an excellent striker. This is another one of my players. You can see he's also going to be an excellent player, providing I give him that level of training. And the difficulty is still there, where you have to provide a high quality training program for these players. Otherwise, they won't develop into the excellent players they could potentially become. Another helpful way to use this is you can search for just EU nationals. So if I look at EU nationals, you can see all the players that you'll be able to sign without a work permit. So there's Lionel Messi up there. He's currently he's currently the best player in the game. Neymar, Ronaldo. Lionel Messi currently has an ability of 195 and he can make 199, which is an incredible football player. You've also, another very, very helpful thing is this best rating. So what this will do is it will look at attributes, all the attributes of the player, and work out how useful they are for the position that player plays. So you can see it considers that Vincent Kompany is actually the best central defender in the world. Whether or not he would actually have the highest, he does actually have the highest, but you can also see that, let's have a look for a player. So Edison Cavani is considered the third best striker in the world according to this, yet he hasn't got the third best rating for a striker. And that's because his attributes are very useful for being a striker. So he has pace, finishing, technique, anticipation, he's great off the ball, and he's very consistent. And these are all very useful attributes for a striker to have. He's also brave, it's going to help him score goals in tough situations. Happens when you click outside the window. But as you can see, it's very useful, and you can also use that for the potential rating. So, for instance, the player I showed you earlier, Serene Ndai, he may well have the highest potential rating for any defensive midfielder in the world, but if I search for defensive midfielders only, and search best rating, as you can see, the highest potential for a defensive midfielder is actually Javi Martinez. So, it's not just a case of identifying who has the most potential overall, it's whether they're going to have the most potential in that position. I'm sure he'll be a fine player, but currently he's not quite there. I think that's about it to show you with this application. I'll show you some of the players I've purchased using this. So here, for instance, I bought Rodrigo Gomez, and you see I only paid £2.5 million for him. I've already had to sign him onto a very expensive contract just to keep him at the club because other teams want him. Which other players have I signed from here? So there's Jonathan Silva, like I showed you earlier. Players like Simone Zaza, I would have probably not found him. He was sitting in Juventus's reserves. He's clearly a very capable striker. He scored a good number of goals. Pablo Alcacer, as I've said. Omar Masquerade. And this is what happens when a player doesn't quite work out. So he hasn't quite reached the potential I hoped him to, so I've sent him out on loan to Yeovil. And yeah, I think that's just a good display of what Genie Scout can do for you and how it can help you in the game. So thanks very much for watching. Like the video if you liked it. If you didn't, dislike it. See you next time.